Chuking gently opens his eyes to discover Chengxi, a stunning young woman, sitting on his stomach. Chengxi leans in closer, her attractive grin reassuring him that he is awake. Now that Chuking is awake, he worries about his location. He leaps out of the bed partially undressed, overcome with dread. While puffing on a cigarette, Chengxi remarks on his improved appearance following awakening. The circumstances that brought Chuking to this point are feverishly being pieced together in Chuking's racing mind. Go back. Chuking remembers a dim memory of stumbling into the fairy world at Qingcheng Mountain, where he started a 300-year cultivation adventure. He aimed to become a skilled swordsman cultivator via unceasing practice and unwavering devotion. At the age of 17, he deviated off course just as he was about to achieve eternal enlightenment and opened a gateway of time and space that sent him back to Earth. Chuking's thoughts are brought back to the present when Chengxi returns to the bed. He wonders about her identity and motives while harboring suspicions. He is being enviously eyed by Chengxi as she smokes a cigarette and motions for him to join her on the bed. Chuking quickly changes into his bathrobe and claims that she must have thought he was someone else. Chengxi firmly declares as she gets out of bed that she never lets her pigeons go so lightly. Chuking ignores her advances and walks away, intent on getting to the door. He tries to flee, but Chengxi stops him with an unexpectedly firm grasp on his arms. Chuking attempts to release himself from her hold as he is shocked by his own weakness. He is deftly tossed aside by Chengxi, who then sends him flying through the air till he hits a nearby wall. Chuking, who is groggy but resolute, looks around the room and notices his school uniform hanging on the wall. He quickly grabs it and moves out of the room after quickly taking advantage of the chance. While continuing to smoke, Chengxi swears that she won't let him leave so easily as she follows him to the door. She retires inside her room with a sly grin. Chuking exits the bathroom and enters the busy metropolis wearing his bathrobe. He observes the activity around him as people hurry by, engrossed in their daily tasks. In sharp contrast to the environment he left behind 300 years ago, the landscape is now dominated by tall skyscrapers. Chuking is overjoyed to learn that he has at last arrived on Earth and can meet up with his family. He catches a strange sight, and his excitement begins to fade. A young couple is standing outside a store when the boy approaches the girl and requests that she buy him a purse. Their roles appear to have switched as she nods and envelops him. Chuking closely observes as a strong arm shoves him aside and orders him to make room. When he looks for the source of the order, he only sees powerful women at work on a construction site. Even the police officers he runs into are all women. Chuking is shocked by the significant changes that have taken place since he last visited a world where women suddenly seem to rule. To uncover exactly what happened to the world, Chuking immediately visits the Tianjing library. He picks up a book on history and begins reading. It claims that a calamity occurred in antiquity between the seasons of spring and autumn. This incident changed women's physique, making them more intelligent and powerful. Kongmo, a lady born later, created the idea that women are superior to men. As a result, imperial power shifted from the prince to the princess. The belief that women are superior to men and vice versa began to change in the 21st century as society developed. But the idea that women are valued more highly than males hasn't entirely disappeared. The male is considered to be faithful and is strongly disapproved of when there is an extramarital affair. The pursuit of males by women has become commonplace. Chuking closes the book and starts to believe that everything has turned around. He wonders if his own family has fared similarly. He moves towards his house after having this thought. Upon entering, he discovers his aging father, Lin Yuantu, cleaning the home. Chuking is asked why he is so late because he was told to leave his friend's house early. When Chuking's father smells him, he joyfully gives him a firm hug. He pushes him away from himself and inquires where the perfume smell originated. He begins to interrogate him about if he was with a girl the entire time. He is being reprimanded by Lin, who reminds him that when he is with girls, he needs to be vigilant. Boys who are attractive like him are preyed upon by girls. Lin gets up from the table, grabs a newspaper, and begins demonstrating it to his son. He tells him that a 15-year-old boy trusted a female classmate, and days later, he was raped by her. He addresses him in a very harsh tone. She produced a film of his rape, posted it online, and made him popular. What prospects does this child now have? Chuking is also informed by Lin that his sister has been having fun. She graduated from a subpar university and was still unable to secure employment. Therefore, her parents don't have high hopes for her. Chuking must now concentrate on his studies and keep bad ladies at a distance. Chuking is watching his dad, who has even mastered female body language, helplessly from a distance. Inquiring about his mother, Chuking tells him not to worry about him. Lin inhales deeply and informs him that she has business meetings and that things in her line of work are currently not going well. After giving it some thought, Chuking begs his father for permission to take him outdoors for lunch. He agrees when the father asks him to bring the sister along. He enters his sister's room, where she is seated on a chair with headphones on. Father shakes King angrily for refusing to join the family in their argument. Xiao, Chuking's sister, is using her laptop to watch inappropriate content. As she sits there, Chuking agrees that his sister is acting strangely as he observes a tissue box next to her. He exits the room and hastily locks the door before rapidly opening it again and hitting her with his slippers. King knocks Xiao off her chair as she questions him why he beat her so hard and takes off her headphones. She is asked by King if she is watching any questionable films. With a devilish grin, Xiao declares that it is enjoyable to view the hot bodies of charming young men, and that purchasing such material online is very simple. She then advises him to keep away from such videos because he is too young to watch them, and she leaves the room. With a smarmy grin on his face, King begins to observe her. King and his father are in the living room relaxing in the evening. When Xiao enters the living room, Lin is cutting fruit while King is watching television. She explains to her father that she will have dinner with her pals and be late getting home. Her father must pay her 1,000 yuan, she asks. When her father asks, she casually responds that she wants to socialize with her friends and conduct some business with them. Out of rage, Lin grinds his teeth and tells her to emulate her brother. In a fit of rage, Lin grinds his teeth and tells her to emulate her brother King. Their lives would be a lot simpler as a result. After saying that, he hands Xiao the cash. Xiao responds as she adds up the money, saying there is nothing to learn from King because he will eventually wed a wealthy woman while Xiao must work very hard to have a stable existence, and her parents should support her. She bids him farewell and makes her way to the door while waving the cash in the air. While relaxing on the couch, Lin informs Xiao that she should be careful with her money because it is difficult for her mother to make that kind of money. King questions his father's decision to let her continue doing this. Father informs him, disappointed, that he cannot restrain her like he does King. Xiao is a girl who works outside to make money. King puts an apple slice in his mouth and reflects on how feminist the world has become. After some time, King's mother Chu Tianan comes home wearing a fancy outfit. King runs to greet his mother and gives her a hug. Do you know about constant scans? The community on Discord has been the finest. You ought to come on over and join us. When he saw King watching those films, it was Xiao who informed her. Tianan is perplexed as to why King has changed her behavior. Tianan gives him some more cash and then moves over to speak to her husband, Lin, assuming that he would not be happy with his allowance. While King remains motionless and examines the cash, Lin takes her bag and places it where it belongs. He recalls how his mother always made an effort to live simply, and how he even had to steal 10 yuan from her handbag in order to play games. She is currently doling out cash to him. King approaches Tianan and offers to return the money, claiming he is not in need of it. Tianan replies tenderly, telling him that she won't let him suffer despite their current challenges. She is adamant that he keeps the cash. She then takes a comfortable seat on the couch and turns on the television. Tianan accepts Lin's offer of a glass of water once Lin has poured it. When she inquires about Xiao, Lin responds that they shouldn't even bring up the subject. Tianan leans her head against the sofa's armrest and shows her displeasure with Xiao's recent actions. She is confident that Xiao will finally grasp the significance of her upcoming obligations. While seated next to Tianan, Lin nods in agreement. Lin blushes as a result of Tianan's amusing glare at him. Even in a world turned upside down, King finds it difficult to understand the way his parents are acting as he observes this situation with rage. Tianan extends her arm and beckons Lin to come closer to her. Xiao should enjoy herself first before taking on duties. The statement goes, because men have it easier in life. Lin chuckles and inquires about dinner with Tianan. King is still perplexed and dissatisfied, fearing that he might turn out this way in the future. His room, which is decked with feminist themes, is where he goes to hide. He discovers that his drawer is stuffed with love letters when he opens it and realizes that Jinmen's secondary middle school students think highly of him. He thinks about the necessity to practice and regain his lost skills in the Hall of Time and Space while sitting on his bed. He decides to go back to his original planet once he unlocks the Hall of Time and Space, where his mother lives at home and his father goes to work. He remembers that even though it is past midnight that his sister hasn't arrived yet. Being aware that he is currently in an upside-down world helps him to relax. Just then, Xiao's name appears on the screen of his phone as it rings. When King picks up the phone, Xiao informs him that she is in trouble with a shaking voice. Another girl is sitting in front of her while two muscular girls are holding her arms. King is cautioned not to involve the police by one of the girls. King is informed by Xiao that he must join the Discord to aid in her liberation. When King asks, Xiao requests that he carry a black bag from under her bed to the Crescendo Bar on High Street. If King wants to make sure his sister is safe, the boss lady takes the phone away from Xiao and tells him to bring the bag to room 302. The boss lady kicks Xiao in the thigh, forcing her to scream in agony. She then lays her foot on Xiao's thigh. King hastily reaches under the bed to get the black bag before leaping out the window. He starts leaping over buildings to reach Crescendo Bar quickly because he is driven to defend his family and seek justice. When King knocks on room 302, a woman answers and invites him inside. King observes his sister being held captive by the female criminals inside the room, and Xiao screams upon seeing her brother. King lays the bag on the table in front of the boss woman as she relaxes on the sofa. He stands there and demands that his sister be released. With a smile, the boss lady gets up and walks up to King, complimenting him on his sweetness and asking how old he is. Age doesn't matter, King says gravely, insisting for his sister's immediate release. After focusing on the black bag, the boss lady opens it to see that it is loaded with yuan. Xiao is surprised to see such a significant sum of money and inquires as to its source. King wonders why his sister didn't know what was in the bag because it had a sizable amount of money inside. Possibly even 1,000,000 yuan. Xiao admits that she didn't know what was inside the bag because Xiao Lin asked her to hang on to it for a time. The boss lady loses her cool and thinks Xiao has stolen her money, which makes her furious. Before she changes her mind, she shuts the bag and tells Xiao to leave the room right away. Xiao approaches her brother and gives him a hug in thanks. She holds his hands and starts moving towards exit door, and when they reach the exit, nevertheless, is halted by the boss lady's obnoxious voice. Since King is young and adorable and all the other girls in the room are gawking at him, she insisted that Xiao leave him behind. Upon realizing that trouble is about to get worse, Xiao turns her head. It quickly becomes clear that the boss lady won't let Xiao leave without creating further issues. Also mentioning that King hasn't joined the Discord, the boss lady disappoints Xiao by bringing up the previous Discord incident. Xiao rushes to her brother's aid the moment he is in trouble and strongly demands that he leave with her. The other woman chuckles and suggests that she should remain rather than leaving because their transaction is not yet complete and there is still a great deal for them to talk about. The suggestion is made because the first woman is about to leave. Xiao reassures her brother that she will recover quickly and then informs him that she will remain in their household going forward. On the other hand, King defends himself and reacts by knocking the lady to the ground in an act of retaliation and in an effort to get his revenge on her. The woman, who is currently angry, makes an attempt to physically hit the guy, but King defends himself and prevents her punch from landing on him. The lady makes an attempt to physically hit the guy. After observing other women's capabilities on that planet, the lady, who was mesmerized by the power that they held, gave the order for her lackeys to begin an assault. She was fascinated by the power that other women on that planet possessed. She had a lot of questions about the authority that other women possessed. After that, King executes a one-of-a-kind spin move to take down the two lackeys. After that, he makes an attempt to run away, but the woman stops him and prevents him from being able to do so. While Xiao brandishes a gun and tries to negotiate with the woman, King is more than willing to take the initiative and go on the offensive. During this time, King has every intention of doing so. King is eager to seize the initiative and take the offensive position when given the chance. The woman warns the other two individuals that she will shoot them if they continue to act in an aggressive manner toward her. Exactly at that moment, Cheni, who is being escorted by two other members of the security team, walks into view at the location. Cheni's response to King's criticism of her appearance is to state that she is the owner of the company in question. King's remarks are met with silence. Cheni's appearance is the subject of King's ongoing criticism. Both King and Cheni are overjoyed to have finally had the opportunity to become acquainted with one another, and Cheni is happy to see King. The assertion that Cheni has made has left King completely dumbfounded. Despite the fact that the lady, whose true identity is later revealed to be Zhu Yun, is vindicated, Zhu Yun continues to assert that Cheni is behaving in a manner that is in violation of the regulations. This is due to the fact that Zhu Yun's true identity is not divulged until a later point in the story. Cheni orders her two bodyguards to sever both of her hands and feet from her body, and then toss them into a river after the limbs have been severed so that she can display her superiority. Chengxi does this so that her superiority can be demonstrated. Chengxi acts in this way in order to prove that she is more capable than others. This is Chengxi's way of showing that she is in charge of the situation at hand, and that she has everything under control. In spite of this, she has given her position some thought, and she is now on board with the idea that only one of each should be severed from the animal. Chengxi is curious as to whether or not King enjoyed her gift, and King's response is that she is curious as to whether or not Chengxi was sincere in her attempt to act in a nice manner when she made her statement. The occurrence of this event takes place after Yun has terminated his participation in the chat. Chengxi allays his fears by assuring him that she is prepared to show compassion to someone who is different from the others, and then she proceeds to announce that King will be her 36th lover after she has finished assuaging his concerns. Chengxi's first romantic involvement came about when she was only 16 years old and King was her childhood friend. Chengxi has had a total of 35 different male partners, all of whom come from different walks of life, throughout the course of her life. Chengxi believes that if he had a body like Zhu's, it would not be difficult for him to serve as Zhu's prostitute. However, Zhu continues to refuse the offer. Chengxi is under the impression that if he had a body like Zhu's, it would not be difficult for him to serve as Zhu's prostitute. Chengxi asserts that if he had a body like Zhu's, he would have no trouble becoming Zhu's prostitute. Chengxi believes that Zhu's body is more attractive than his own. Chengxi is making a comment about Zhu's physical appearance. When King was defending himself, he made fun of Chengxi's strength, which ultimately led to a fight between the two of them to determine who was the more powerful of the two of them. King and Chengxi fought to find out who was the more powerful of the two of them. In the end, King does not fare well in the competition and comes in last place. The two discuss and agree upon the rules that will govern the competition, which will finally take place within the confines of a restaurant environment. Despite the fact that King is awestruck by her skill, he is ultimately successful in spite of the fact that this is the case. Before leaving with his sister, King makes it abundantly clear that he expects Chengxi to uphold her end of the bargain and complete the responsibilities that have been assigned to her. Additionally, he makes it clear that he expects Chengxi to carry out the task before he and his sister depart. Despite the fact that he has caused Chengxi annoyance, she still allows him to leave, despite the fact that the current situation is irritating for her. Chengxi reacts angrily by slapping one of her bodyguards and claiming that she hasn't been defeated by him yet, after the bodyguard suggests that she should follow him. Chengxi is the one who suggested that she should follow him. The response that Chengxi gives is one of violence. Chengxi maintains that she has not yet been vanquished by him because she has not yet been defeated by him. She bases this assertion on the fact that she has not yet been vanquished by him. After that, she makes it abundantly clear to King that if they were to end up getting married, no other woman in Jinmen would ever have the audacity to approach him in any way, shape, or form in any capacity. She says this in a very direct manner. The way that she expresses herself in this manner gives the impression that she is telling the truth. Following this, the two have a brief conversation with one another, during which King is not convinced by Chengxi's arguments, and ultimately, he leaves with his sister. Chengxi is surprised by this turn of events. Chengxi is left perplexed as to why King would abandon her with his sister. The dispute that had been lingering between the two parties has finally been settled. Chengxi is taken aback by King's brazenness, and as a direct result, she has decided that she will not grant him permission to leave. Chengxi's decision comes as a direct result of King's audacity. Chengxi makes the decision to disregard the warning that was provided to her by one of the bodyguards, who informed her that she needed to be in bed by a particular hour. The bodyguard told Chengxi that she needed to be in bed by the specified time. At that point in time, it is anticipated that Chengxi will have already turned in for the night. They discuss the happenings of earlier in the day as King and Xiao make their way back to their residence from the restaurant where they had eaten earlier. When Xiao brings up the subject of getting married to Chengxi, King, on the other hand, becomes irritated. As soon as King got back to his house, he immediately resumed his strength training, and much to his dismay, he noticed that his sister was engaging in behavior that was inappropriate while she was using her computer. This resulted in a significant amount of embarrassment for him. The following day at school, King runs into his old friend Lin Dong, who is behaving in a very feminine manner toward him. King is confused by this behavior. This behavior befuddles King, so she tries to avoid him as much as possible. King is pondering the meaning of this action in her head. Almost immediately, King is able to positively identify him as the individual in question. As soon as King hears Dong's effeminate worrying, he is immediately turned off, and as a result, he makes a beeline for the exit in order to get away from the situation and gain some space. As soon as King hears Dong's childish nitpicking, he is immediately turned off, and as a result, he is immediately turned off. Since it appears that he is experiencing a depressive episode, the class president, Oren, has made it a top priority to check up on him because he is concerned that he may be in danger. According to King, the only reason he could possibly be worn out is because he is hungry, and this is the only explanation that makes sense. He claims that this is the only reason that he could possibly be worn out. After that, Oren suggests that they eat together, but an unattractive lady immediately shoots down his suggestion. After that, Oren suggests that they eat together. After that, Oren suggests that the three of them eat together at a meal. The woman swings her fist at King, but he quickly knocks her unconscious and throws her to the ground, preventing her from completing her attack and rendering her unable to continue fighting. A third student who goes by the name He just in the nick of time, Mao steps in to stop the lady from carrying out her plan to exact vengeance on the person who had been harassing her. The woman intended to exact her vengeance by taking the life of the individual who had wronged her in the past. Mao gives the woman an order to leave him alone, and despite the fact that she does not want to, she obeys the order and departs from the room. Mao takes King to the rooftop of the school, where he apologizes for how his sister Chengxi behaved toward King the previous day. Mao tells King that he is sorry for how his sister treated him. Mao's apology can be understood as a reaction to the manner in which Chengxi handled him. As Mao explains the reasons why he needs to apologize, King is paying very close attention to every word. It was discovered that on the day that King woke up in the bedroom with Chengxi on top of him, she had spent the night there before taking him home after spending the night there herself. This occurred on the day that King woke up in the bedroom with Chengxi on top of him. This was uncovered when King awoke in the bedroom with Chengxi on top of him as they had been sleeping together. When they were on their way back to their house, Chengxi gave him a prescription for a sleeping aid that was concealed inside of a water bottle that looked like it came from the store. During the course of their journey, she handed it over to him. Mao is reassured by King that there is no reason for him to be concerned about it, and the two of them then return together to the educational institution that they had earlier left together. Chengxi will provide King with transportation back to her house once the school day has come to a close. King expresses gratitude for the assistance that was given to her, despite the fact that King had previously turned down Chengxi's advances in their relationship. Chengxi is successful in getting King's attention when she threatens King's family. King's family is in danger because of Chengxi's actions. This endeavor has a sizable impact on one's internal state of mind and feelings. Chengxi congratulates King and compliments him on his compliance with the request as King is getting into the vehicle. Chengxi tries to persuade him that what she said was not meant to be taken as a threat. However, he is unmoved by this and tells Chengxi that she made a mistake by threatening his family. Chengxi's words were not intended to be taken as a threat. Chengxi makes the case that what she said was not intended to be taken as a threat in her argument. King, who is unconvinced by the remark, is of the opinion that it will in the future come to pass, and as a warning to her, he goes on top of her and breaks a crystal ornament that was hanging from the ceiling of her vehicle. He does this because he believes it will happen. After having their disagreements resolved through conversation, the two parties come to the conclusion that they would like to become friends. Then, out of nowhere, Chengxi brings up the topic of outdated forms of martial arts, wanting to find out whether or not King is a practitioner of these older styles of fighting. Chengxi is curious to learn this information, because King maintains communication with Chengxi by claiming that it is impossible for any man to cultivate in this world. She has reason to believe that he is trying to hide something from her. Chengxi is under the impression that King is keeping something secret from her. They are involved in an unexpected collision with a vehicle, but King is able to withstand the majority of the force that is applied to them in the collision. After he and Chengxi have been able to successfully flee, he discovers that their path is being blocked by a number of women who are armed with weapons that are designed for combat in close quarters. Chengxi confronted them since they hurt her man. She fought the woman all alone. One slipped away and ran toward Chu King. Chu King used a bit of energy and knocked out the attacker. He then saw Chengxi being outnumbered, and with a weapon in his hand, he joined the fight. Chu King surprised everyone as he slashed multiple attackers. Chengxi then struck the remaining ones and knocked them out. Chengxi commended Chu King, but it was nothing for him. Chengxi then planned to investigate the matter. She then asked Chu King for dinner, but Chu King claimed that his father would get worried. Chengxi got a call and shouted in disbelief. Chu King wondered if it was about the Yi family, but he didn't care at all. Just then, Chengxi grabbed Chu King and asked her not to go since her mother was also attacked in the same way as them. Chu King realized that this was not a simple coincidence. Chengxi was worried that her mom might die, and that her aunt could kick her out of the Yi family. Chu King tried to calm her down, and Chengxi felt reassured by Chu King's words. She then hugged him tightly, and the two soon arrived at the Yi family's residence. When they got there, they found the entrance blocked by guards per Chengxi's aunt's orders. Chu King said he was a doctor checking on Chengxi's mom, but they doubted him because he was a man claiming to be a doctor. Luckily, Chu King had learned medicine in the fairy world. He looked at the security guards and accurately diagnosed their health issues, shocking everyone. They finally let him in. However, Chengxi's aunt, Mei, and her daughter, Mei, stopped them. Chengxi wondered where her mom was. Mei called Chengxi rude and couldn't believe she brought a man home since they were banned from their family. She told Chu King he had to prove himself before he could enter the Yi family. Mei asked her daughter, Mei, to test Chu King's skills. Mei set up this plan to frame Chengxi by making it seem like he had done something wrong. Her goal was to get Chengxi to help Chu while Mei hurt him, breaking the rules of the Yi family. Mei's condition was that if she won a fight against Chu King, he would have to spend the night with her. Even though Chengxi objected, Chu King agreed and told them to start the fight. Mei attacked first, but Chu King dodged and knocked her out with one hit. This surprised Mei, who started complaining. After that, Chu King and Chengxi went inside to meet Chengxi's mom. In her room, Chengxi's mom, not sure if he could really help, asked him to leave them alone for a while. With a quick glance, he figured out her condition. This made Chengxi's mom ask everyone else to leave the room so she could talk to him alone. She thought Chu King was from the Lai family and questioned his intentions towards Chengxi. But he said he's just a friend of Chengxi, not from the Lai family. She believed him and showed him her wound. Chu King was surprised to see the wound had gotten worse. He explained that although she could manage it for now, it would harm her organs in 5 days. He placed his hand over the wound and started absorbing it, but his current abilities didn't let him absorb all of it. Chengxi's mother felt relieved seeing him try and thanked him for helping. While he was on his way home, he noticed the wound on his palm that he had absorbed. Unfortunately, he couldn't get rid of it given his current abilities. He remembered an elixir from the fairy world that worked for injuries like this, but he wasn't sure if it existed in this world. The next day at school, he saw Tang Xen playing basketball, with all the boys watching her admirably. Back in his original world, Tang Xen had been his crush during prep school, but she didn't recognize him here. Surprisingly, she walked over to him and challenged him to a basketball game. He agreed and took the ball from her. She proposed a bet. If she won, he would be her boyfriend, and if he won, she would do whatever he asked. The game started. She quickly scored her first point, leaving Chu King shocked. She got hold of the ball once more and tried scoring another point, but he blocked her shot and took control of the ball. He then said it was his turn and made an impressive jump to score a point from quite a distance. This secured his win. Feeling victorious, he mustered the courage to ask her out on a date. Her response was a playful challenge. She told him to get stronger first if he wanted that date. Later, back at the Yi family mansion, Chengxi wanted to know how to thank Chu King for saving her and her mom. Chu King grinned and asked for some time to think, coming up with some amusing ideas. Unbeknownst to her, helping Chengxi's mom had actually boosted his progress in cultivating his pure aura and spiritual strength. He had a strong determination to fully heal Chengxi's mom the next time around, in order to completely awaken his spiritual body. While he was walking home, Lai Yu came across him and warned him to steer clear of Tang Xen. However, Chu King paid no attention to the threats. This made Lai Yu angry and he tried to physically confront Chu King. But Chu King skillfully avoided the confrontation, defeating both him and his female bodyguards. Chu King couldn't understand why Tang Xen wanted to marry someone as unintelligent as Lai Yu. This made him think about investigating the situation. He remembered Chengxi's offer of a reward and decided to ask her for a private investigator. Chu King waited at the bar for the private investigator to arrive. A young woman named Chen Hua came up to him and introduced herself as the investigator. He was surprised because she looked too young for the job. Chen Hua asked about his relationship with Chengxi and even flirted with him, jokingly asking him to be her boyfriend. This made Chu King feel awkward, so he quickly shifted to the main reason he was there. He asked her about Tang Xen's family. Chen Hua told him that Tang's family was a big deal in the city, owning most of the major businesses. But recently, they had run into some problems and their finances were not stable. To help them out, the Lai family proposed a marriage between Lai Yu and Tang Xen. This surprised Chu King because Tang Xen had never mentioned any of this before. Curious, Chu King also asked Chen Hua about alchemy and whether alchemic families existed in this world. To his surprise, she said that the Tang family was one of those alchemic families, known for making elixirs and medicines. He was intrigued and wanted to know more. She explained to him about the two main types of alchemy known to people. Common alchemy, which involved using inner power to make elixirs, and another type that used spiritual energy. She mentioned that the second type was beyond her expertise. This made him wonder if there were others like him in this world. Wanting to know more, he tried to ask questions, but she made a playful deal. She'd share more info if he had dinner with her.